Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of All in All with Alex. I'm your host, of course, Alex. Today, we have a very special guest in the building. Now, I never asked her how you pronounce her name, so I'm going to let her pronounce it because, every now and again, we may screw up people's names, so I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell her a little bit about herself, and then we'll dive into it.
Hello, Alex. Folks, they have the double A happening tonight because two double awesome people are chatting. I'm Andy with an E. Last name is Lyons, Lyons, and I am a 4 times founder. I was a startup mentor for 8 years, and now I'm doing 2 wonderful things. I'm hosting my 6th podcast since 2012. And it's called Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And we're all about shattering those age-related expectations and stereotypes while providing resources, inspiration, ideas on how people can thrive after 65. Because pastures are for horses, not people. Just because the clock strikes midnight on a milestone age does not mean you're done. You're done when you're dead. So we like to talk about what else you're going to do. How are you going to repurpose those lived experiences? So that's the podcast. And then, Alex, I was searching for community and I thought, well, who is more fun than podcast hosts to hang around with, right? Podcast industry is so friggin' fun. I'm up here in New England. I noticed that there was no support system for New England podcasters. And I said, well, I'm going to host a monthly meetup. And maybe it'll just be me talking to me. I don't know. But I put the word out. And since May, we have built a wonderful community. We get about 15 to 20 folks for each meetup every month. But, we have a core group, but new faces come in. People are always going, oh my gosh, when's the next one? I can't wait to come. All the good vibes. It's so much fun. And we share what we're doing because nobody else knows what you're doing when you're a podcast host. Your family, your friends are like, oh, that's nice, Alex. Good for you. Huh? But when you get with other podcast hosts, they're like, really? Then what happened? And what do you do with this? And how do you do that? And we share all the stories and it's so much fun. And we have a beautiful place that we meet, a wonderful host site that is actually a state-of-the-art TV studio and podcast studio. And then we have someone who buys lunch for everybody. So come on, a sponsor already. So we're very happy. And I am 68, Alex, and I'm throwing that out there because I'm all about aging out loud and proud and helping other folks who are aging to be out loud and proud about their age, especially women, because there's so much gendered ageism out there for women.
I agree. Well, let's dive into it. So what inspired you to become unemployable 1992, and how has that decision shaped your career? By the way, 1992 was a great year. Just so
Were you born that year, Alex?
I was.
It was a great year. Yay. Well, I earned my MBA in 1989 and I went into banking, not because I was a fit, but because I wanted to get that specific commercial lending training where you do a lot of financial analysis on all types of industries at all levels. And then, of course, I wanted to learn how bankers thought. And I lasted 3 years, which was pretty friggin' amazing because I am I don't follow rules. I'm a maverick and I like to be in charge. But I made it. And what I learned was that I was going to have to become a reluctant entrepreneur. I didn't always in my life go, oh, this is just what I've always wanted to do. But I had a hard time fitting in corporate environments, in traditional environments. I'm Ande Lyons, and that's just not for everybody. And so that's what started me on a career of figuring out. First, I tried solopreneurship, and that worked great while I was birthing babies. And then my husband and I launched a .com. We raised over 8 million in venture capital. We had a great run. We were in 250 college campuses. We were really doing early YouTube, Facebook kind of things when the .com tsunami happened. And we were real close to revenue. didn't quite make it. So in the fall of 2000, we just went with everybody else, part of that tsunami. In 2001, started over again, trying to figure things out. And in 2002, I launched a food business, food manufacturing business. And again, not because I was setting out to do that. It's just that nobody was hiring after 9/11. And I went into the kitchen to cook, came up with a recipe that folks couldn't stop eating, and myself included. So I figured out, how do you launch a food product? And had a great run, raised some 6-figure angel money with that, scaled in less than 2 years nationally. And not by going into stores. I went into food service. So Sodexo, Aramark, companies like that, Compass picked me up and put me into hospitals, corporations, campuses, all the places. And great way to build a business. Anybody out there, especially if you are a minority owned business, and women are considered minority. So that really helped. But then Mother Nature stepped in, and not only did she have a drought for 2 of my top products, primary ingredients, but then lightning hit my manufacturing facility and burned it to the ground. So, they don't tell you about that, right? And how to launch and build a business, how sometimes Mother Nature, we know from hurricanes and fires that we see, right? North Carolina, Florida, probably in your neck of the woods had some damage as well. Mother Nature can come in and kick ass.
For sure.
And so I just, for anybody watching or listeners, I did cry for months after that. It was such a good run. And my angel investor to this day said I still would have put money in knowing the outcome, because it was so close and it was such a good run. So, you still have successes when you have businesses, Alex, just because they don't always end in what you think is of the mythology that you see around you. Oh my gosh, IPO, or oh my gosh, they got bought and they had an exit. Oh my God. That's really not the case for a lot of businesses. But the success is that you built something, you sold it repeatedly, product, service, you earned money, you did all the things. And that's what you learn along the way. And then I had 2 internet type businesses. And then I started mentoring. And that was just, a lot of fun. I had a monthly pitch event here in Boston for 3 years. I co-hosted, and we had 5 founders pitch their value prop every month. And it was very exciting. Would get good crowds for that. And it was a lot of fun. But in the spring of 2023, I decided, I'm going to focus on this ageism thing. I want to start working on podcasting more. So by the time March came around of 2024, I launched Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And then I quickly launched the New England Podcasters Group.
Okay. I like it. So, let me see. So, can you share a pivotal moment from your experience raising VC capital for your .com startup?
Well, I have to tell you, it was a different environment in 1998 for raising capital. So that was during the internet boom. I mean, the money was flying, Alex. It really wasn't that hard. If you had a good pitch and you could show them the pathway to monetization and where they could get their cash out, you got the money. So I wouldn't say it was anything pivotal there. I would say that was a traditional and easy way to get money. And people were very greedy. They were really caught up in the hopes and dreams of the .com scene. Raising angel capital is different. Angel capital is somebody who really, really believes in you. See, venture capital is very different. Venture capital is about your business model and your ability to execute. But at the end of the day, about the investors getting their cash out. And they have an agenda with their venture capital portfolio. They, in turn, have raised money for their fund, right? And they have investors that they have to report to and tell them how it's going. And so they're much more clinical. So when you have an angel investor, that's somebody who has wealth that's going to write you an individual check, whether it's for 25, 50, 100, 250K. They know it's a risk, but they're betting on it for many reasons. And there's a lot of an emotional buy-in there. They're really excited about the founder and their ability to deliver. They're excited about the company. They want to be part of that ride, part of that excitement. And so, for me, that's what I was using pitching when I was raising capital, was the vision, the excitement, etc. But it's really hard. And having mentored so many founders, it can be a grueling way to have to launch a business. It's really hard. I know that, especially in biotech and companies, life science companies, you got to have that money up front in order to get you through the next 3 or 4 years to prove your value prop and get your product out. But I encourage anybody to try to not do it with capital, find non-dilutive capital, which is grants and other money that's gifted to you. And instead of someone who comes with all the shackles of capital and equity. And then if you can do it where you can get capital based on your revenue, there's a lot of great companies out there that will finance you over a period of time and will get a return based on the revenue that comes in. And also just see if you can get a product out there and selling it with a margin.
So, what motivated you to become a global startup mentor, and how has that experience influenced your current?
Well, it was a natural fit for me. It started off helping Entrepreneurship for All, which was this great local accelerator program. And they had it was an intensive 12-week, but a 12-month program. And we would meet twice a week for the first 12 weeks and then once a month after for the rest of the year. And the advice, 2 to 3 mentors per company. And it was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot and I saw that I could add a lot of value. And so I then applied to be a mentor at larger accelerator programs and got picked up to be a judge. And then, of course, a monthly pitch event co-host, right, for startups. And it just started to, hey, Andy, can you help us out? We've got companies out of Italy or Colombia or before the war, Ukraine, places like that to help mentor. And then I had a series called the Startup Life Live Show, where I interviewed diverse founders from around the world. And that was also an opportunity for me to mentor. So I'd interview the founder and we'd talk about their value proposition and if they were bootstrapping or if they were raising capital and all the parts and pieces, the LTV CAC ratio, what's your marketing spend? How are you going to get this product to market? And when you do begin to scale, what's going to happen? And so I was able to do mentoring on the fly, make introductions on the fly with each of these founders who were from around the world. And the only time I had, and I say diverse because that was always very important to me, because I just felt the white guys had enough going for them. And of course, my favorite story to prove that was Clubhouse.
The app Clubhouse?
Yeah. So when they launched, Alex, 2 white guys only had one app working, right? iOS for that platform. A woman or a person of color would never have been able to raise capital with one app. No, come back to us when you've got the Android figured out. You got that. I mean, and still we wouldn't, I mean, it's less than 2% VC money goes to women and people of color. So they launched, they got millions. They went for, I think, their second or third round with a valuation of $1 billion. No woman or person of color could have raised that kind of capital, but a couple of white guys could. And I was like, yeah, I don't need to talk to them. I want to talk to people who have had to figure it out without the silver spoon of the color of their skin.
So whenever you help people, with you being a mentor, right? Do you help people from let's say somebody come to you with an idea of what they want to do for their business, but they don't have a business plan or anything like that. Yeah, do you help them like from that point on, or like where does your help with them start?
Well, this is when I used to do that. I don't mentor anymore.
Okay.
But when I did, it would depend. If I was part of an accelerator program, then I was gifting my time. Otherwise, they'd have to pay me. And I would start with, what's your value proposition? Where are you at with your business? What stage are you at? How are you proving this? Are you talking to just your friends and family, or are you talking to strangers? And what's the feedback? What's it going to cost to launch? Right? How are you going to prove that you're solving a problem that people want to pay for? And that's where I would start. Then, once you understand the problem you're solving and that people want to pay for that problem, then you can work out your brand identity, your brand promise. That's the emotional promise that you make to everybody. I'm going to deliver this experience to you every time. Then you can start working on all the parts and pieces. And then depending if it's a service, if it's a tech, if it's food, whatever you're building will have different parameters for all of that. And a lot of times too, it's you get the most important things you need: a good attorney, a good accountant, and a good insurance broker, because these are the people that are going to protect you from yourself and from others.
Okay. So what do you feel are some of the most valuable insights that you have gained from co-hosting a monthly pitch every month? Oh, hold on. Yeah, the monthly pitch event in Boston.
Yeah, I think it's really the founders understanding how do they articulate, tell the story very quickly and very succinctly. At our pitch event, you had 99 seconds to pitch your value prop. So you had to be very clear about the problem you were solving, the audience the market you were solving it for, and how they were going to pay you for solving that problem. And then you could pick one slide out of the pitch deck and talk about that, right? You could talk about the team that was building the company. You could talk about some of the feedback you'd gotten, any traction, things like that. But the most important thing is to quickly, in 30 seconds, ideally, but a minute and a half if you had to, be able to garner interest in your business. And it is never the solution that people are interested in, right? It is the problem you're solving, the pain you are relieving. And a lot of founders get caught up in have I got the shiniest new fill in the blank? It's going to just, oh my gosh, and I built this and I'm amazing. And yeah, nobody wants to know about that. They want to know that problem. And when you are able to say, hey, I'm helping protect this, or, prevent that, or whatever that problem is that you're solving, that's where you can really get a win. And a lot of times it can be really hard. Timing is everything, Alex. And I love using the Airbnb and Uber as an example, right? So before the real estate collapse in 2008, nobody was going to have some stranger stay at their home. Nobody was going to let a stranger get into their car, and hell no were they going to get into a stranger's car. But all of a sudden, wait, I can make money driving people around? I'm in. What? I can make money renting out this bedroom? I'm in, right? So a lot of times you can have the best idea and be solving the greatest problem, but the timing is way off. It could be like how, if you have solar, when you had your great solar idea in 1990, yeah, no, nothing's going to happen. 2005.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of that, I just for my my time here on what I'm saying, on here on Earth, I noticed that the same things, like when we were younger, it was, oh, you never get in a stranger's car, you never do this, you never do that, and now it's like people will send their kids, they'll send an Uber for their kids, and I mean, Of
Well,
course,
and
it's got certain protections on there. Of course, you know who the driver is and knowing, seeing a picture of him and all.
well, when I grew up, Alex, you were really careful. I can't say this over the phone. I know someone's listening. The Big Brother thing. Now, I mean, my kids, they're Gen Zs and young millennial, and they're like, they already know everything about me. What do I care? So it's a different mentality. And one of the things I talk about today is how important intergenerational connections are. So you need the young brains and the old brains working together, especially in a startup, because the young innovative brains, let's try this, let's try this. And the older brain is like, that's great. And here's what I know about systems and procedures and roadblocks and things that we can look out for and prepare for and avoid, instead of you having to reinvent the wheel again by making all the mistakes, right? And building that wheel. It's really great. And I think the best thing young entrepreneurs can do is to bring people in my age, Gen Z, Gen X's, or boomers, and to get rid of the idea in their heads that because somebody is over a certain age, they don't know technology. I'm here to tell you, we were coding in the 70s. People were gaming with mainframes and punched cards. Okay. Technology has been around a long time. I remember when Apple came out with the, Fat Mac, all the stupid floppy things we used to have to use. We all had to figure that stuff out
Floppy disk.
in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, come on. We didn't even have the internet. So we learned technology, and I just think it does a disservice. And I think anybody who is my age from the boomer generation is doing themselves a disservice by saying, oh, I just don't understand technology. No, you're being lazy. You can understand it. It's not that hard. You had to do a lot of things a lot harder. So, but I just also encourage younger generations to know that, we've been around technology a long time.
So, how did this startup life live show evolve, and what were some memorable moments from your conversations with founders?
Thank you for that. I loved my stroll down memory lane. So I had been doing almost a monthly podcast called Startup Life Show, just because I love podcasting. And then COVID hit. And COVID hit Boston really early. We were shut down, I think, mid-March 2020. And I remember because we couldn't have we always met on I think the third or the last Thursday of the month for my pitch event. So I said to my co-host, I said, hey, Jay, let's just do it online because I've been streaming for forever. He's like, say what? I go, yeah, we'll just go live across YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. People pop in the questions. They can ask the founders questions. We can have, the investors come in and ask the questions as well. They can be in the screen. He's like, okay. And so I showed him what it looked like. He's like, dang, this is great. Let's do it. And so at the end of March of 2020, we had our pitch event online, live, and which was pretty good timing because people were all starting to get sequestered. What was the word that we had at home? Had to stay home. And they were looking for some distractions. And I also thought, you know what? I am an extrovert. My batteries get filled with being able to talk to people. I'm going to definitely need something to keep me engaged because this COVID thing's going to take a while, I could tell. So I started doing a live stream. And over the first 7 weeks, it's always kind of scary when you get going, trying to figure it out, how you're going to do it. But by then, I was part of a group of, I think it was about 75 founders doing this thing called Founder Gym. And when George Floyd was murdered, and I was one of only maybe 4 whites in the group. And it just took me to an even deeper level of understanding what allyship what meant as a white woman for the Black community. And so I said, I'm going to start doing the Startup Life live show for diverse founders, primarily women and people of color. And so I went twice a week. And I have to tell you, I had to quickly understand some pretty complicated businesses because twice a week I would be interviewing people with some business models that I had to go, wow, let me sit with this for a minute. I remember one time I was interviewing a very seasoned tech founder. And I said, so let me get this straight. What your business does is, and I did this whole thing to sort of float out of me. He says, oh my God, Andy, I've been trying to simplify what I'm doing for months and you just did it for me. Thank you. But I was just trying to bring it to everybody's level because some of the people were just, I didn't have a smarty enough pants to wear for some of the conversations. But what happened too was that somebody would be tuning in, could be an investor, could be a connection or somebody who knew somebody. I would say that was the best part of, the 250 episodes that I did beginning in April 1st of 2020. And I went twice a week for 3 years. I met people from all over the world, Singapore to India, Ukraine. I had a founder, Alex, who was doing her work from bomb shelters most of the day. Yeah. And so her business is just soaring now. She's done so well. It's so exciting. And so it's just great to meet all these wonderful founders and be able to mentor live, right? And be able to add advice and add value to the world in that way.
Yeah.
But now I focus on podcasting, podcasters, and ageism, because ageism is a prejudice against your future self. And so anytime people make fun of old people, they're making fun of their future self. Anytime you buy a card for somebody that devalues and diminishes and belittles an elder, you're devaluing and belittling yourself. And it's a vibrant time in life, and your purpose doesn't die just because you reached a certain age. Ambition is ageless, desire and purpose are ageless. And it's really fun talking to these people who are doing wild things. I interviewed a woman who just at the age of 72 won the Guinness Book of World Records for being the #1 female ninja athlete. Now, I got to tell you, she didn't do her first pull-up until she was 62, I think. It took her a whole year. And ninja athletes are swinging and, everything's upper body, right? And to private eye, to people launching businesses, there's some wild reinventions going on, getting a master's degree in their late 60s, publishing a book in their 70s, doing amazing and extraordinary things. And I think the more representation we have of that, the better off we all will be.
I agree. Speaking of ageism, what really was it a certain moment or a certain thing that inspired you to shift towards focusing on shattering ageism?
Thank you very much for asking, Alex. In the startup industry, it tends to be kind of youth centric, right? And I would hear people at the pitch events say, oh, no. Try pitching your business as if you were telling your grandmother about it. Well, first of all, it was never grandpa, right? It was always grandma. So gendered ageism right there. And of course, I would shoot out of my seat and say, wait a minute, and then give my whole speech about, we've been doing tech companies since the 70s. But I would just notice that. And I was always afraid. People all assumed I was in my 50s and I have a young energy. I would also, my biggest fans in the startup ecosystem were all under the age of 30. They couldn't get enough of me. And I was like, I could be your grandmother. They go, we don't care. So I learned a lot about how it wasn't my age, right? It's about who you are, your enthusiasm and passion for life. And so when I turned 66, I bought myself a picture of the Route 66 sign that goes from Chicago down to San Diego, and held it in front of me and took a photo. And I put a post out on LinkedIn called Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And I started it off saying, when I turned 50, I thought, that's it. My entrepreneurship days are over. Time to hang up my tiara. It's a young person's game. And then I wrote, and 16 years later, I've had 2 more businesses. So don't be caged by your age. And then I gave a bunch of examples about ageism in tech and what people were doing and blah, blah, blah. The post went viral on LinkedIn, and the comments were filled with, yeah, well, when I retired, I did this and then this and this, and I'm not stopping. I'm 85 and I'm doing this. I'm 72. And I thought, wow. And then other people were like, I'm afraid they're going to make me retire. I'm going to become invisible. And then I learned about the epidemic that the World Health Organization talks about, that retirement is an epidemic costing societies billions of dollars because people are no longer getting connected. And that is, if you study any of the longevity shows like the Blue Zone, it's never what they're eating. It's all about community. It's all about being on purpose that keeps them living longer and healthier. And a lot of people are forced to retire. Companies treat them terribly, saying, okay, you've lost ambition. We're not going to invest in you anymore. You're over 50. Forget it. You're almost out the door and you really have one foot in the grave. And so these people go home and maybe they've planned for retirement financially, Alex, but they haven't planned for it on a personal growth level. And so they end up sitting on the couch and their health declines, their brain and mind decline, and it's not good. So what I'm trying to do is, and what I learned from posting my own age was a couple of things. As a woman, by coming out of my age, I learned how to go, okay, this is how I'm supposed to look, because we're told by beauty products and society, being old is bad. Like, don't be letting that happen. And there's nothing you can do. You start aging from the minute you're born. And all of a sudden, it's liberating and it's freeing in such a way that I wanted to share that with more people. So anybody that comes on the podcast, they have to usually be over 65 or older, and they have to be okay letting folks know. And oh my gosh, for some people, like, nope, I can't let anybody know. I go, okay, you won't be on the show. Have a good one. It's hard. It's really hard. But it's a good, in startup terms, I have a good founder market fit. I'm 68. And so I know my market. I know what we're all going through. And what I'm really excited about are all the late 40s and folks in their 50s going, oh my gosh, I am so inspired by these stories. Like, the best is yet to come. I go, that's right. So it's very exciting to sort of shift the conversation about aging to, oh my God, I'm going to die and nobody's going to see me. I'm going to be invisible and isolated, to what do you want to do next? What do you want to do next?
Yep. So over the years, with everything you've done, how has your perspective on entrepreneurship and innovation changed over your career?
Wow. Well, I am probably, yeah, that is such a good question, because there's a wonderful woman in the world, Trisha Hersey. She has a platform called the Nap Ministry. And it's all about dissolving the hustle culture and the grind culture, because she sees it rooted in white supremacy and in toxic capitalism. And you can see it a lot. I can see it a lot in the Gen Zs. A lot of boomers and older Gen Xs are like, oh, those millennials and definitely those Gen Zs, they're lazy. And I go, oh, no, no, no. No, they have the right perspective and the right values in life. We were indoctrinated to give everything up for the man, for the corporation, work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And our kids watched this and said, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. And I bring that up about the Nap Ministry and the grind culture, because it is alive and thriving and well and continues in the startup ecosystem. So when I had my .com, I was interviewed by Wired magazine. It was 1999. And I told the guy, look, this ecosystem, this startup ecosystem of young guys sleeping on the couch, working 24/7 on their .com, that's not sustainable. There's no time for personal self-care, and there's sure as heck no time for any family members. Children are getting the raw end of the deal on this, and so are family and members. And this is what happens with many entrepreneurs. If you're not part of the solution, get out of the way. And I actually wrote an article called when your loved one is not an entrepreneur. And it was all about how do you keep those relationships going when all of a sudden you're getting hate mail and it's from your family members, not customers. So I would say my perspective has shifted from that hustle, grind, 24/7, do it all, leave it all, with your business. Look, if you're 26 and you've got nothing else going on in your life, maybe that's okay for a minute, but you best know how to build a business that carves out time for you. You can work hard and effectively, find a good executive coach to help you figure out your time management, get the work done, get it delegated, and do not get caught up in the hustle and grind culture. It is toxic and it serves no one. I'll get up and thank you for coming to my TEDx talk. Got a little preachy there. Sorry, everybody.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So what are your goals with the New England Podcasters Group?
Thank you for asking, because I just love everybody there. Oh my gosh. Well, I just can't wait to see how it continues to grow. I hope someday down the road, maybe we'll do an annual conference for New England podcasters. That would be a lot of fun. But mostly, I just want to create this welcoming, safe haven where folks can come in, get a shot of inspiration and collaboration and connection. Even for those who are thinking about podcasting, right? They want to learn how to do this, from those who are seasoned or just starting out to the service providers. So I'm hoping that it grows into a wonderful community, and maybe I start having satellite events in Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, and as we always like to say in New England, yeah, there's Connecticut, but is it really New England? We have a lot of New England jokes up here, everybody. If you ever watch TikTok, you just go watch Ian. I think his last name is Brownhill. He does the best New England comedy. Think Marky Wahlberg, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck. I don't know if you've seen the skit with, or just really the conversation with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck, when someone asked him, geez, every time I go to Boston, it feels like people are yelling at me. And they said, oh, that's just how people say hi. They go, how are you? But it feels like you've been yelled at.
I'm going to look that one up.
It's really funny. But, and you've probably seen the Dunkin' Donuts, or I think Saturday Night Live did a great skit on parking the car. It was this self-parking car. But anyway, it's fun up here in New England.
So how do you see the podcasting landscape evolving, especially for older creators?
I think it's a wonderful outlet for older creators. I want to see many more of our older adults and older creators taking their stories, their passions. I don't care if it's knitting or gardening or true crime, whatever it is, and bringing it to the world. It doesn't matter. Some people like listening to me. I'm edutaining. Other people like really quiet, slow, methodical. There is an audience for everything. And podcasting is, as you know, Alex, it's a low overhead, has a very low barrier to entry cost-wise. The most money you're going to spend is on your mic. The rest, you can get the website at Podpage. You use Riverside for everything that you need, editing and getting your audio, etc. There's platforms like Buzzsprout that you can pay to get your feed out to Apple and Spotify and all the podcast platforms. It's maybe $50 a month, plus your time. If you get all the bells and whistles, which is really a very low cost. And I'm all about, if it's a hobby, that's okay too. If it's a passion, that's okay too. Don't let anybody shame you because you didn't instantly monetize your podcast. It is a wonderful medium and a brilliant way to connect with folks. And if you're entering a new industry because you've rewired, not retired, you've reinvented and repurposed, then it's a great way to meet people in the industry. I was never in pro-aging, and now I'm just fully into the pro-aging movement with all the players. I'm interviewing them, and it's a wonderful way to meet people. So whatever category or industry you're in, there are people who want to talk to you and with you. And there's a wonderful platform called Podmatch. So, for $7 a month, people can, find your show and get on it. That's probably how you and I met, right, Alex?
Actually, mine was on podcastguest.com.
Podcast guest. Got it. And so, places like that, so you can find guests can find you, or even if you just said, I want to get interviewed, you can just go around and find all the podcasts and pitch them about why you might be a good guest for their show. And that can be a fun way to get out there too.
Right, I agree. So what advice would you have? What would you give aspiring entrepreneurs, regardless of their age?
Do it. Here's the Ande Lyons advice for all potential entrepreneurs. You always win when you launch a business, no matter what happens. And here's why. You learn so much. It is the best personal and professional development program in the world. You're going to find things out about yourself you never knew. You're going to push up against all your limitations and boundaries and blast through them. And then you're going to find something out. You're going to find out, I love being an entrepreneur and I'm going to continue doing this. So if this business doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. I learned a lot. Now I'm going to be better at the next business. And remember, there's a high failure rate and it's okay. It's all about learning. Or you're going to say, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I hate entrepreneurship. That's great too, because you're going to go back into a company. You're going to have much more transferable, marketable skills, and you're going to be able to command a higher salary because what you just learned brought you to a whole nother level of professional and personal development. So I always say, do it. You don't want any regrets.
I definitely would agree with that. Can you share a success story that just comes to your mind when you think of someone that you've mentored who launched a successful startup?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My babies, I met at an event these two young 21-year-olds who were just about to graduate from University of Massachusetts, Lowell, and with dual degrees in electrical, one, I think, electrical engineering and computer science, and the other one, computer science and something else, right? And they had an idea for a safety jewelry. And they were telling me all about it. I was like, this is a great idea. I think it's wonderful. What's the name that you have for it again? And they told me the name. I said, oh, no. You got to come up with a better name. And be sure to apply to this accelerator program where I'm mentoring. So fast forward a few months, they were part of the accelerator program. They'd come up with a phenomenal new name, and I was assigned to them as their mentor. And today they have a $25 million in revenue a year, and they're kicking butt. And the name of their business is Invisaware. And Invisaware is this, and they figured this stuff all out in 2.5 years. It's beautiful, either necklace or a beautiful bracelet, keychain, bungee for your hair or around your wrist. So it's for men and women, keychain. If you are in trouble, 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to get to your phone fast enough. In Invisaware, you tap the piece of jewelry or its special, beautiful button, whatever form it comes in, twice quickly. And a signal goes out to first responders wherever you are and to contacts that you have set up on the app on your phone. So you could have been in a car accident and upside down, right? Hanging from your seatbelt, but you got, as a girl, you got your necklace. You can double, boom. Mom and dad are local, boom, they're holding your hand while the jaws of life are getting you out. Everybody's responding immediately. You're in that dark parking garage and someone's coming after you. What, are you going to try to find your phone or even think that way? No, you can't form 2 words. You're so frightened, but you can double click. And the beauty is that your contacts may not be geographically local to you. They have it set up so it goes to the geographical local first responders. So your family might be from Alabama, but you're up visiting in Michigan somewhere, right? And you run into trouble, it goes to whoever is local in Michigan right there. They get the 911 call. And so it is just a phenomenal device. I recommend it to everyone. And these kids figured everything out. Of course, they're grown ass adults now. They're in their late 20s. One just turned 30. So, it has been so much fun watching them over the last 9 years take this idea from and figure out who was going to provide the jewelry part, where were they going to get all these pieces made, how did they get this little tiny thing down to a small discreet look, right? Their TikTok channel is incredible because they have tons of safety videos. So what happens if you're in this situation? What happens if your hands are tied in a Ziploc thing? What to do to get out of all the scary things in life. Oh my God. And they're really soaring. So that's my favorite success story.
Okay, that's interesting. I like that. That's something, especially being a parent. You want to have your kids with something like that, especially
however old, and also no adult wants to wear those big clunky devices. So if you do fall as an adult, you can have this little device right there handy because again, your phone might be up on the counter. You can't reach it. And so your children are happy, that you have this device so that they know that their parent is safe in the home because they're aging out at home. So it's very exciting. And I think they were just nominated 30 under 30 by Forbes. So over the last year, Forbes 30 under 30. So they've had some tremendous success and I just couldn't be happier for them. As we say up here in Massachusetts, they're wicked smart.
So, what do you feel are some key lessons you've learned about resilience and adaptability throughout your career?
Ooh, career and life. You get no a lot in life. So I invite people to stay curious and find other pathways to yes for solving problems. The number one ingredient that I can say most entrepreneurs have is they're fierce problem solvers. And the way to stay resilient in life is to understand that life isn't supposed to be this joyride. Sometimes people get the memo, you're supposed to be happy and it's supposed to be smooth sailing every day. No, it's hard. And once you really understand that about life, then you're looking for a different way to navigate. And that's where understanding resilience. I had my heart set on that. It's not going to happen. Okay, how do I adjust? How do I recalibrate in a healthy way? How do I process it? How do I deal with it and get to the other side? And adversity, and I tell parents all the time, please don't protect your kids from adversity. They got to learn as soon as possible how to self-soothe and how to advocate for themselves. Now, sometimes that means you end up with a bunch of attorneys in your home negotiating with you because they're self-advocating. But seriously, though, adversity is a muscle so that when life hits you with something, you don't go, oh my God, I'm Chicken Little. The world is all going to end. We're all going to die. You go, oh, okay. Well, that's not going to work this way. I still have a dream. I still want to be fulfilled and fully expressed in a certain way, but I guess it's not going to be that way. What's another way? Right? And so that's to me is just staying curious and understanding that this road that we have that we're going down, we certainly would love to make it smoother and easier. But a lot of times we have to do hard things, but fortunately we can do hard things. And that's how you build resilience and tenacity and persistence. And just remember, when they say don't give up on your dreams, there's a time to quit because your energy is needed elsewhere. Your brilliance is needed elsewhere. You're not giving up on a dream. You're just giving up on that pathway to that dream.
Okay. Two more for you. So, can you share your vision for redefining societal expectations for people over 65?
Yeah. Yeah. Stop pigeonholing people into this framework where you hit 65 and you're disposable. We want a younger version of you. No, I interviewed a phenomenal man, Raymond A. Jetson. He's one of the catalysts behind a phenomenal platform called Aging While Black. And they have three pillars of, bringing technology in and intergenerational, et cetera. But they use this term Sankofa, which is the Sankofa bird. And it's really bringing the wisdom of the ancestors in with the modern day culture to create a better community and connection. So instead of devaluing and belittling folks because their body starts to shrivel up and you get barnacles on the skin and cracks and you just don't look shiny and brand new, does not mean that person doesn't have a ton of value. You see it with performers. I saw a performer who was very big when I came of age, Cyndi Lauper. She's 3 years older than I am. I saw her Saturday Night in concert live. And she belted out. She was dancing like she did when she, maybe not quite as well as she did when in her 30s and 40s, but no one was shaming her for being up there, right? And definitely the older model. But have conversations with folks. Society has got to start revering. And what's really interesting, Alex, is boy, you see a work of art like the Mona Lisa. How old is that, right? Nobody bitches about how old that thing is. It's valued bajillion dollars. Piece of antique, a classic car, right? The year I was born, 1956, there's some great classics there. Everybody talks about the 1957 Chevy, right? But boy, yeah, the person who was born in those years, not so much. So what I'd like to see is society having higher expectations for the seniors and stop having them retire and also asking them, how do you want to see yourself within this organization? You still have value. You just don't need to do a 40-hour week. I mean, really, what happens, Alex, as you get older, you get much faster and more efficient at things. You don't need to spend the time to get the work done. So anyway, I'd love to see society do that and stop with the age shaming greeting cards too.
So final question. So how do you measure success in your current endeavors focusing on ageism and empowerment?
A couple of ways. And I love this question because what I've come to learn too is that at this age and stage, I value success on how I feel. And how is the impact I'm having? Am I helping others? Do you know about ikigai, the Japanese term ikigai? So it's a Venn diagram. So that means you've taken a bunch of circles and you've connected them. One circle is your vocation. Another circle is your profession. Another circle is your mission. And another is your purpose. And all those circles come together in the middle. And that's your ikigai. So it's what makes your heart sing, something the world needs. Can you get paid for it? Ideally, in some way, maybe in kind. And, are you passionate about it? Because a lot of times we can do a lot of things well that we're very successful at, but we're just bored to tears by, right? But boy, when you have passion beside something. And so for me, that's how I measure success is ikigai. That's Ikigai. It's a Japanese term. And you can ask Google about it all, or ChatGPT. But it's, and to measure that is if I'm in that center place. And so it'll be a while before I know that with Don't Be Caged by Your Age. I know every conversation fulfills me and I know people are listening and getting value from it. Every time I meet in person with New England Podcasters Group, definitely. They're very happy and it just makes me happy. And I just created the time and place and space, right? They're all talking amongst themselves and collaborating, doing all the things. It's just beautiful. So I'm already hitting it out of the ballpark with that.
Good. That's good. So, is there anything that you wanted to cover or that you wanted to say that we didn't cover that you would like to tell the audience?
Well, I just think keep building those intergenerational relationships. Think about how you talk about older folks, older adults. Try not to infantilize, the older age group and treating them like they're feeble and teenagers. So many of them have done amazing, extraordinary things. Them, us, me. To celebrate. Every year you get older, celebrate because it is a privilege to be alive. And not many people make it as far as I have, or even your age, Alex. We all have, expiration dates. We just don't know what they are. They're not on our booty.
So, well, I'd like to take this time out to tell you that I thank you for coming on the show today to
Thank you.
share with the audience. And, I hope they were able to get something out of this and be able to apply it to their life.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Alex. I'm honored that you invited me on, and honored for anyone who's listening. Thank you for taking your time to up your own game through this listening to this conversation.
So, everybody that's watching, thank you all for tuning in to another episode. Make sure you go support Ande and everything that she has going. Follow her on social media. Check out the podcast. And make sure you all are, doing your best to make sure that we break the ageism. And we need to shatter it, just like Ande talks about. So,
thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all, and be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn too, because your network is your net worth.
That's right. So, all of her social media and websites, everything will be in the description and in the show notes as well for the audio version. So, but thank you all for watching. You guys have just watched another episode of All in All with Alex, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.